Good evening. Call the December 13th, 2018 Lincoln Way Community High School District 210 School Board meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Here. Ms. Janice Doyle. Here. Mr. Luchetti.
Here.
Mr. Lulo. Here. Mr. Janet.
Here.
Mr. Costick.
Here.
Mr. Perkins.
Okay, we don't have anybody signed up for public comments. Consent agenda. The approval of the regular meeting minutes of November 15th, 2018. Approval of the payroll of November 20th, 2018 and December 5th, 2018. Approval of the District 210 advisory minutes from November 12th, 2018, and out-of-state travel. Does anyone want anything pulled from the consent agenda?
The out-of-state travel.
Okay. Discussion.
So the group going to Canada, Vancouver specifically. So I'm assuming they're going to need passports and is all that information going to be known to the parents, et cetera, what exactly is going to be used before they pay the money for that cost of that trip?
Yes, there's always, before there's even any sign up, there's an articulation meeting where all the details are given, or any checks are written before any sign up takes place.
And there's no problem with minors getting into...
No, there never has been. We've been doing the Border Wilderness trip for at least 15 years. Principals help me out. It's been at least 15 years.
Close to 20 years.
20 years. Close to 20 years, correct.
Anything else? With that, I'd entertain a motion to accept the items on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
The vote is open.
I'm in favor.
Thank you. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Okay. Action items. Presentation of the invoices for November 16, 2018 through December 13, 2018.
Long card here.
Motion to approve the invoices in the amount of $2,344,999.26 dated December 13, 2018.
Second.
So we have a second. Discussion. Absent any?
The vote is open.
Treasurer's report.
The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Now the treasurer's report.
All right, thank you. For November, the month ending, we had just 2.7 million in revenue and 8.2 million in expenditures. We're now beginning in our cash drawdown period, leaving us a cash balance of 22.9 million. We did close in the month of November on the tax anticipation warrant, and by law, we had to go ahead and take a draw to consummate that deal, if you will. What wasn't due to cash flows is due to legal requirements. Then just on the report in general, I want to just talk just real briefly the difference between the cash flow variances and a perceived or going what we might see as a budget variance. A cash flow variance, that is just simply a month to month, has nothing to do with where we may end in the end, but it's just basically where I projected based on historical data what I thought would happen in the month and how revenues would flow in and expenditures would flow out. It doesn't always happen the way I think, and that's what this variance report shows us, is that, you know, if I was right or wrong. So in this case, in the month of November, we were 163,000 less in revenue than I thought we'd be at. And as you saw in my write-up, that was mainly to do with the fact that last November, we did receive our second federal grant payment, an amount of $227,000. I thought we'd get that this year. Well, we were a little slow getting our grants approved through 843, so we just didn't get it as soon. So, but that'll all work out. And then as far as expenditures went, we expended more than I thought, mainly Fund 60, and that's just timing of bills coming in. And so overall, we were $500,000 combined, less cash flow than I thought we'd have. But on a positive note, there were still, and I put a summary there, comparison to date. Last year at this point, at the end of November, we had already drawn $2 million in tax anticipation warrants to make payroll. This year, we're cash flow through. So that's $1.9 million. We did take the 100 just to seal the deal. So overall, our net cash is $1.6 million more than in the prior year. This is directly related to the fact we had a surplus in the last fiscal year. Why isn't it $7 million? Well, yes, that was our surplus, but remember, this is flowing in and out. It doesn't flow in at the same rate or scale. But so anyway, as far as revenue goes, now I'm switching to budgeting. We're on track. Looks like we're doing good. Things are running. I was very, very pleased. So we finished our taxes, 2017 tax levy. We collected everything but $83,500, 99.9%. If you look at our 9-year average, we normally hit about 99.66. So it's very strong. But this district has a history for very strong tax collection. So that looks great. Interest is trending ahead. Unless the state, planned on, budgeted for 3 payments for this fiscal year from the state. If they don't short us, revenue will be right on track. If they do, then we could be a little under on our MCAT, but that shouldn't be a big thing. Finally, expenditures are trending right where we thought they would be. We're a little ahead on benefits, but then we also know starting January 1st, our IMRF rate is going from 12.12 to 10.57%. That's going to balance us out because we're running ahead. And then tuition, we're ahead, but that's just cash flow. We paid every one of the 843 payments right on time, and we're ahead of where we were. So that's fine too. So overall, I expect us to be right within budget by the end of the year. So any questions on the treasurer's report?
Just on the capital projects, I did see the final payment for Evans and Son for 1 Point East. Then there was a big one for Key Construction. Was that the final bill for Key Construction? No. No.
Anything further? All right, with that, I entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report for November 2018.
So
Second.
A motion and a second.
vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Student activities report for November 2018.
You can see in your backup materials, the student activity report has been provided. There were 3 accounts that were in the negative. 2 of the 3 have been remedied by the date of the memo. The last will be positive by the end of the month. We're requesting a board approval for a new activity account at West, the Gay Straight Alliance Club that has been established for the 15-16 school year. The account will be used to manage fundraising and expenditures for the club. And then an update on the class F accounts, as we were asked this past month. As of November 30, 2018, the district has approximately $96,000 on deposit from the classes of 2017 and prior. Administration will develop an administrative procedure to go along with policy 4 activity fund specific to the handling of class account balances to present to the board this spring. The administrative procedure would then become effective beginning with fiscal year 2020. So by March, April, we'll present to the board an administrative procedure to handle some of those account balances.
Now, do we need to have a second motion to establish that account, or does that all fall under the guys?
This would be all under
It's all under the student activities?
A motion in a second.
All right, with that, any further discussion? A motion to approve the student activities report for November 2018.
Second.
A motion and a second.
Just quick questions. Is there any direction as to what you're going to do with those hardware class funds? Are you going to donate them, put them somewhere?
That will be part of the discussion leading up to so we're going to look at what some other districts have done and bring some options to the board prior to putting that administrative procedure in place. One of what we've already looked at is the possibility of using those funds to continue to maintain many of the class gifts that we've gotten over time, because those class gifts often, the initial purchase is fine, but there's also the maintenance of and upkeep of that, so that potentially we can move that into a fund to be used specifically when Bridge has to do repairs to those class projects. So that's something we're going to draw out from the tax report. Good question.
The vote is unanimous, the motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to personnel reports.
All right, under employment, we have Jessica Fox, food service, Lincoln Way Central, and Joan Quaglia, bus driver, transportation. I ask the board to approve these the employment report as presented.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous, the motion passes.
Retirements? None?
We have nothing under retirement.
All right. Resignation.
Under resignations, we have Jessica Patterson, Best Buddy sponsor, Lincoln Way West, will resign at the end of this school year. And Peggy Ronza, paraprofessional, Lincoln Way West, will resign effective December 21st, 2018. I ask the board to approve these resignations as presented.
There's a motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous, the motion passes.
Thank you. Interfund loan resolution.
Yes, we are here tonight to ask the board to approve two interfund loans from operations and maintenance, education in the amount of $2.3 million, and then from transportation to education in the amount of $1.3 million. This is allowed by school code. What this will allow us to do, it will allow us to defray, if you will, having to borrow, because the edge fund is our shortest fund as far as cash flow goes. So this will make us another month or so before we'll need to go to borrow TAWs and save interest expense.
Thank you. Need a motion to approve the interfund loan resolution as presented.
So moved.
A motion and a second.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion.
Now, with us moving the levy amounts around, these amounts come down over time.
Right. Over time, we will work to adjust any levies. We've already been working on that. But then also, the ed fund was actually negative 2 years ago. So any surpluses we are building is going into the ed fund. So that's a process. So it's a twofold process. Balancing a little cross fund, but the main thing is building up the surpluses. So we won't be as short as the ed fund.
Based on the cash flow, we should be fine. when they move
Yes. So then, once the main taxes start rolling back in, then we will pay back these loans, and then the other funds will be able to cash flow themselves out. So we'll only draw, and that's the way it works, we only draw funds, tax anticipation warrants off of the ed fund, just for legality. It's just simpler to use for that one fund.
Any further discussion?
repayment you're expecting not in June, or to start.
Right, once, because we'll get the early taxes in May, and then we'll get those, which will be a big chunk, and then we'll get those other chunks in the beginning of June, and we'll repay. So we'll have all paid off. And another note too, there's also a $2 million one that's been outstanding for a few years. We're paying that off this year too. So at the end of this year, June 30th, we'll have all interfund loans will be satisfied across the district.
Further discussion? Powering none, I'd like to open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous, the motion passes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, Comprehensive Accounting Procedures Manual.
Okay, so this is out of our 16 audit comments from prior years. As you know, we're down to 2 final comments. One dealing with the fact that we don't have a full-together comprehensive accounting procedure policy manual. Not that we don't have policies and procedures, but they're just not documented, collected, and put in one place. So that's been an ongoing audit comment. And then, of course, the other one has been on our fixed assets. You remember a few months ago, I talked with the board about, well, what do we tackle first? And either one of these is going to be a little expensive for us to get done. And you agree the best bang for our dollars, deal with one that has the longest interim impact for the district. So we're brought here tonight. We went out, got quotes from 2 different accounting firms to help us come in and document and get this procedure put together. We have one was from Warner's Rogers for $12,000, and the other one from Stitchich for $8,000, not to exceed 8. I might mention that. Theirs is it's actually based on their hours worked, but not to exceed 8. That's another thing I really appreciate about that. We've done a lot of work on it. I said we, yeah, the royal we. Well, Kelly and staff has done a lot of work on this, and so, you know, we may be able to get it done for less than that. So, but we would recommend we go ahead and bring in Stickage and get this done and clear this comment this year.
Did they say how long it's been?
Here, we can have discussion. I can do the motion after.
Did they say how long it's going to take them? Did they, is it going to take them 6 months?
No. So our timeline for completing this is, we're asking the board to approve this tonight. We would get an engagement letter signed and done immediately. We would be in January, or mid-January, February. We'll get this all knocked out. We want to have it all finalized by no later than March, because we need to implement. I mean, I'm not anticipating any major ahas, but there could be something. We want to implement and be completely ready to go, so that when the auditors come in at June 30th, we've not only finished the study, we've implemented any suggestions, recommendations, corrections, whatever, we've implemented, and we're ready to go for the audit. So, so quick, we want to get this done early.
Okay, with that, I need a motion to approve the hiring of Stickage to assist in the district in developing a comprehensive accounting policies and procedures manual as presented.
So moved.
Second.
More discussion. We're not doing it piece by piece?
We are, I think Chris has some.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's it. So I'm in favor, so we're utilizing both these firms right now. We're happy with both of them.
Correct.
Okay.
Using different capacities.
Yeah. Stickage, I mean, so one, the lower cost, but I think it's better to use them too because we have a second set of eyes then, and we also have, one of the Rogers doing the audit. So I think that's a very good thing. Obviously, the proposals are almost identical and listing out what they're going to cover and everything like that. My only thing reading through the Sinking Twin, I just want to make sure that we were comfortable because they spent a lot of time talking about not-for-profits. The person that they have assigned here is from their not-for-profits group, not from their government group. She looks like she has a lot of experience. I just wanted to make sure that we were comfortable that they've dealt with school districts before because they're covering off on some things that are, I know you'd have like the grants and everything in the not-for-profits, but there are some things, with the school code, et cetera. So I just want to make sure that we, take a look at that as well.
Yes, they've got I realize that, the person they put in there for our lead on the job, her nonprofit background. However, they've got a broad enough firm and several offices around us. They got their office in Naperville. This is actually going to be ran out of, I believe, their Springfield office. It's just how they balance their resources. But they are plenty large enough firm they need to bring someone in to specialize on something. But when it gets down to it, what we're going to be looking at is pretty vanilla across whether you're governmental, not-for-profit, it's pretty the same, There might be something with the tax receipts, maybe they need to ask somebody somewhere, but they'll have the background to do that.
And I mean, she has a lot of experience.
Oh, yeah.
I was just making sure.
Right. Yeah, I visited with her and I felt comfortable. They're, good firm, good reputations, and so.
Our original engagement, about a year and a half ago with Sickage, they had also presented some of the options to us at the time and the list of the other districts they had done.
Any further? Sorry. Further discussion? Open the vote, please.
The vote
You
is
should, we're voting on signatures.
Sikich, yes. We did the motion to second before you continue discussion.
The vote is unanimous, the motion passes.
Forecast 5, Analytics 5 lab.
Dr. Murphy.
Good evening. So I come to you tonight asking for us to enter into an agreement with Forecast 5 Analytics and the purpose of utilizing their software application 5Lab. A lot of what 5Lab does is it's an analytics of our information that we have housed in Skyward, in Versatrans, in College Board through ACT. It's taking all this data, putting it into one nice, easy platform that we're going to be able to use these dashboards that are already been created through Forecast 5 and be able to use them at multi-levels, not just at the administrative level, but also at the building level and at the department chair level. And what teachers and what department chairs will be able to do is really kind of hone down into various performance levels, looking at how students are doing on particular assessments. And really the benefit of using this system is it's updated on a regular basis. So the data is shared between our current system of Skyward, our data warehouse, and 5Lab, so that that information is regularly updated, so that when a department chair or administrator wants to get most up-to-date information, we're not spending hours and hours of time repopulating the data based on current trends. And instead, because it's already being done on a nightly basis, all this information is readily available through a few clicks of a button and going through the dashboards that are already created for us. What we see is a lot of school districts are really have been using something very similar to this. It's called ECRA Group. If you're familiar with it, a lot of the northwest suburb schools use ECRA Group to be able to do this. Working with them, their prices are comparable to what 5Lab is offering. The other thing that's out there is called Tableau, which is really it's an Excel program base that really takes all the data and analyzes it for you. The difference is They don't have as many of the nice graphs already generated for you. There's a lot of training that would have to go in place in order for our staff to be able to utilize this. And then the training would then have to continue on down the line because it's not as readily available as something along the lines of 5-Lab is. Again, this really just takes all of our information, and it's a time saving for my staff. Really is what it boils down to. We're looking to, instead of spending an entire week putting data together to present to our administrators and our department chairs, we're allowing them to be able to, once it's uploaded, allowing them to, with a little guidance, get down to exactly what they're looking at. They would have access, all of our instructional leaders would have access to it, and we would continue to work with them to be able to tweak and figure out exactly it is what they're looking for. A lot of this has been geared towards, the reason we're looking into it is because of the various indicators that are being tracked according to the state of Illinois for college and career readiness. And so we want to get a deeper understanding of where our students are at and get a jump on all those indicators and make sure we're heading in the right direction. So we're looking to enter into a multi-year contract. The Forecast 5 Analytics, they cut this year down to a half a year for us, prorated that cost, and they waived any implementation fees because they're really looking to make sure that we can be part of their group. Other school districts that are currently using them include 230, Lamont, and Lockport in the local area here, and they continue to grow with other people who are using them on a daily basis. And then their rate, they actually gave us a discount on the annual rate as well because we have a standing relationship with them already. You may recognize the name Forecast 5 is what we use for our financial side as well, for 5Cast.
So is this total cost for the full 2.5 years, or is that
It's
an annual cost?
so the first year would be the cost, the approximately $13,000 for the remainder of this year, and then the recurring cost would be about $26,000, $25,995.
And
Yes, an annual cost.
It's software first.
So I have a question about the agreement itself. It's only 2 pages. It's just a paragraph, basically, it talks about FERPA. I mean, there's nothing else. We're entering into a 2.5-year agreement for $26,000 and really, it's just numbers almost, in a sense. So I don't know if they have a more formal agreement. It really just talks about FERPA.
Yeah, this has been the agreement that they've sent out to all the schools.
Okay.
Pretty consistent.
Very similar to our 5Cast and financial as well.
Okay.
you know, other districts that have used this,
Pardon me?
other districts that have used this that we've spoken to?
So I mentioned Lockport, District 230, and Lamont. They're all in the process of utilizing it. Over the summer, we had an opportunity to go out and see it in action, and it is a very powerful tool. It does a lot of the analytics that we are trying to do in-house. It just does it in a much quicker and timely fashion.
Did you budget for this?
It does fit within the budget for this year, absolutely, and we will budget for it for the next year, absolutely.
Since we've done business with them before, do we just kind of boil it like this, or do we get training review, stuff like this?
Attorneys haven't reviewed this one. As I said, this is a similar contract to what we have on our 5Cast financial.
We're doing that 2 years for you?
That's an annual.
No, I know, how long we doing the 5 years?
Oh, how long?
Sorry,
Second
Brad,
contract.
sorry, yeah.
Okay.
I looked into it, I was pretty impressed by how it merges, and you can single out specific data and take different indicators and filter them, like, it does a lot of data, which I know is very timely.
With the management of the subgroups and now being
Yes.
graded on singular groups of students, this provides much quicker access to data, which then we are able to implement different types of structures to help those students achieve those goals.
With the college and career stuff coming down, I think this would be helpful.
Absolutely.
So how is the information getting into the system? I mean, do they have data feeds directly from, SAT, PSAT? I mean,
No, it'll come directly from us. It's done through in coordination with Skyward. So we will have extracts completed from Skyward that get uploaded into the 5Lab platform on a regular basis, as often as we feel that we need to. So we'll set up extracts for attendance. We'll set up extracts for activities that they're in. We'll set up extracts for semester grades. And the College Board results that we get, we download, and we already have that file from College Board, and those can get uploaded directly from there, but through us.
And security of this information, is it housed on our servers or is it?
It's housed on their servers.
You happy with their security?
Absolutely.
How does one access the system?
It'll be a web-based login with specific permissions that are controlled by myself.
And 5 users, right? No more than 5.
It gives us 5 users that can actually upload the data and work with the data and manipulate any of the dashboards that we want to have. But as far as the users that are able to use the drop-down menus, it's pretty much whoever we want to have access to, which will be all of our instructional leaders.
They have online tutorials for any training needs
They will, but they're going to do a lot of it on site with us to start us off.
as part of the cost.
Yes.
As I read this, we're not necessarily obligated to continue on for those additional years. And it's very short. It's definitely the price if you renew. So, not that I think we're going to give up on the podcast anytime soon, but any further discussion? Barring none, would you entertain a motion to approve the Forecast 5 contract as presented?
So moved.
A motion, and a second.
Second.
Vote is open.
The vote is unanimous, the motion passes.
Moving on, informational items. Report of the Lincoln Way Special Education District 843 Governing Board meeting held November 27th.
Much like we're doing here in 210, we're updating communications and infrastructure with computers. To the extent of about $45,000 in laptops and a new phone system with an intercom. A lot smaller, obviously, than what we're doing here, but still technology and updating. Was budgeted for, it wasn't a surprise or wasn't planned, was planned in the budget prep, so we're all good with that. Pretty much that's about it. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ron. Any questions for Ron? FOIA requests.
FOIA requests are included in your backup materials for your review, just 3 this past month.
Debt restructuring calendar.
Greg, go ahead and discuss that.
Yes, okay, so I worked with Bob Lewis and put together at your request the kind of flow of how we see things moving. Basically, what we're doing tonight is, well, it is informational, but if anybody had a concern about the dates we laid out, the time, where we want to hit this goal or objective. So if anyone's got any feedback, I'd like to take it tonight. Otherwise, we would proceed and be prepared to start the discussion next meeting to begin setting some long-term objectives for what we'd like to achieve as far as our debt service.
The calendar here, there's nothing from April to August. We decided to move up the approval of the long-term debt objectives. Could we do that? Or
We certainly, that's a short discussion, right? But if you think what the main thing here is coming up with getting the new Moody's rating, and that. This calendar is really set to step in line with that. As you know, I've said all along, our first step in doing any kind of debt anything with that. It's going to begin with better Moody's rating. And so this is in step with that. This is, fluid a little bit. There are some firm dates in there, like if we want to do something, with one of the debts as they presented would need to be prepared. But this calendar can account for that. So.
We need to get that passed as soon as we possibly can, so I think January seems like a great time to get started.
Well, I think that, the gap is just end of the year, get the audit, and then get to Moody's. Looks good to me.
I can't see that there'll be too many more meetings that was not discussed between now and then.
Just okay. Just have
District 210 advisory.
don't need to approve the calendar.
So it's for information. If you have any, you can email me something, middle of the night, you think of something else, just shoot me a text,
So the advisory committee met on Monday, and we are continuing our discussion on how Lincoln Way 210 weights grades for honors and AP classes. I think I mentioned this at the last meeting. We are the only district that we can find that uses a multiplier that goes over the entire GPA as opposed to a traditional one-up based on the individual honors or AP class. We had some good discussions. We got some feedback from, I believe, the PPS directors reached out to colleges and universities, and many of the colleges and universities actually reformat grades down to a 4.0 scale anyway. So moving forward, we're going to be looking at specific students, obviously without names, how their GPA would work out using our current method as a multiplier, and then how it would work out if we just use the additional point for individual AP or honors classes. So yeah.
Great report. Building and grounds.
Building and grounds is included in your backup materials. Any questions?
Elementary transportation contracts.
Yes, this is in your packet also for information. We will be coming forward in January and ask for action. But just for your information, I want to walk through what we've really done. As you know, we really have 6 feeder districts. If you count Union D81, they're split, they go. But anyway, so of those 6, we have 5 that the district provides transportation for, everybody except Mokina 159. Prior to this agreement that I'm proposing, all agreements expired at the same time. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to implement a staggered kind of renewal time to reduce risk to the district. But basically, just starting out in section 2 of the proposed new contract, and attached to this is a sample. All districts, I've worked very hard with all 5 of the elementaries, with their attorney, our attorney. It's been through too many attorneys, but anyway, the long and short, we come up with one that will fit for everybody. So everybody's agreed to this format. We'll have one contract, all 5 districts. So in section 2, we put in there some new, what we call operational terms, just to help describe what we're going to do, what we expect from them, just make smoother operations. Finally, in section 3, after going through cost analysis, which was requested of the board, we feel comfortable that the elementary districts do cover their own direct costs, but they weren't really providing anything on an actual basis towards the indirect cost for overhead. So we proposed, and they're agreeing, that we would use the 2.74%, which is our federal indirect cost rate. That's calculated by our auditors. We could use that in federal grants or whatever. So that's how we end up to help reimburse for our overhead for my time, whoever's. And then finally, section 5 was the major change. As you see there listed out, we now are recommending a staggered renewals, and thanks to Mr. Lucetti, he kind of brought that up when we were talking about that. It makes great sense. We shouldn't have them all renew. What if one of them did renew? We might have committed leases for them because we do lease the buses in the district's name. And then finally, in section, in section 5, continuing on, We then also, to make sure we had enough time, if somebody did decide to not renew, we'd want to have a notice no later than December 1st, because, you know, we're June 30th expiration, but we're bidding buses in the spring, we would need to adjust for that. So we have all contracts have to give a December 1st notification. And then finally, in section 6, this was really language back and forth from attorneys, but we wanted to make sure that insurance was covered on an occurrence basis, meaning that, you know, just because if something happened that it didn't get reported, but then later needed, it was coverage would be as of whatever the event was. And then finally, request from the elementary side, and our insurance carrier was fine with it, but they wanted to be added as an additional insured by us. And of course, there's the language in there that identifying each other. And so anyway, moving forward. So the timeline, we've finished all attorney reviews. Some elementary districts have already passed it, but they will have it all completed by next month prior to our meeting. So we'll have all of them approved by their boards prior to coming to us on the 17th for approval. With that, I just answer any questions on the contracts.
So they were all okay with this first stagger?
Yes, yes.
That's great. That's well done.
Community relations.
Community relations report is including the bracket materials for review.
Asset of the month.
Asset of the month for January, perseverance. Young person understands the effort required to do something and keep doing it, even if it's difficult. At home, show your support when children take on a challenge. At school, recognize personal qualities and external supports, and in the community, involve students in leadership competencies.
No legislative report this evening.
I get it.
Policies.
Policies for first reading are included in your backup materials. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns between now and I believe it's January 17th, let me know. But some minor adjustments, the superintendent's notes are in there. Nothing of significant change at this time.
Superintendent's district reports.
Nothing additional to report at this time.
Other business.
I have two items, Mr. President. One, Dr. Tingley, if you or your staff possibly look at the financial impact of maybe bringing 0 hour back, or what that would do if we consider doing that, just bringing it to there?
At no cost, you.
Right.
That's zero.
Well, yeah, okay. At no cost.
Cost structure.
Yeah. So you can look at that. And then also, years ago, former administration, they redid the fine arts requirement when world language seemed to be a big impact for going to college and whatnot. If we could relook at that and see if we want to look at fine arts, bringing them back more, or allowing the students to have more of an input or a chance, whether advisory looks at that or whether administration looks at that, but wherever you think the best spot to do that is.
In terms of putting back you have to take a semester, or you have to take a year. This is up to the board to assign to the superintendent advisory, but that would be my recommendation, because with superintendent advisory, you're going to do a survey of other surrounding districts, to see what they still have in place, then get the opinion of those students, parents, and principals that are on the campus. I think that would be fair to do.
Great idea. That's really perfect.
Great, thank you.
Correspondence.
Correspondence included in your backup materials are letters from the regional superintendent congratulating each principal for their school's designation of exemplary preschool.
Congratulations. Again, I know Mr. Kirking mentioned at the last meeting, but this is really fantastic, and it's great to sit up here. With that, we'll wait for our strategic plan.
Yes, so we'll now open the strategic planning session.
I need a motion to go into closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of employees, collective negotiating, establish sale or lease price of real estate, student disciplinary cases, and litigation. Motion is second. All in favor? There is potential action after closed session.